Hey, it's Thomas Gark 11, and instead of buffing a class, this time I'm going to be looking at buffing Ouroboros forms in Xenoblade 3. So Ouroboros forms aren't outright terrible, but they're very lackluster for what's supposed to be such a powerful ability. So we're going to be looking at buffing their utility, damage, and just overall making them a bit more convenient to use. And the first and biggest buff that we're going to give them is to movement. So here you can see regular movement. Then here we have Ouroboros movement. Technically, this is the same movement speed. Because the model is twice the size, it has to move at half the speed in order to cover the same distance. So it is technically the same speed as walking on the ground. That's fine, but the problem comes when you need to move really far at once because you are locked to this walking speed. Whereas on the ground, you can dash. Well, you can dash when you're not being toppled. You can move as much as you want very quickly. But you can't do that with Ouroboros forms. So the buff that I would give them is give Ouroboros forms the ability to dash. Dash/roll, whatever you want to call it. Quick move is the official term. Just give Ouroboros the ability to dash. And this isn't so much theory crafting as it is something that I feel like is reasonably doable already within the game with just an update. I feel like you wouldn't need to change anything with how they work. You speed up the existing animation to give them a dash, since you wouldn't need to make it cover as much of a distance relative to the model size. So since they're twice the size already, they would only need to dash for half the relative distance in order to dash the same distance as on the ground. So I feel like that's something that could probably be done with just an update to give them the ability to dash. Anyone who's familiar with working with models, let me know if it's actually possible without adding any new animations, if just speeding up an existing animation would make it possible for them to add that in. But next thing then is looking at the arts. So Ouroboros arts have a really big thing with reactions. There's a lot of Ouroboros reaction arts. The problem is they only work at level 3 Interlink. Why? Why would you make their main niche only work after a long time? So the change I would make to Ouroboros arts is that reactions begin at level 1 Interlink. That way you only need to go up one level to get the reactions. Then on level 3 Interlink, the reactions become AoE like they are now. This way you could pop an Interlink much earlier than just having to wait until it's really high to have the maximum. You could just pop it early for reactions, and that would make it much, much more convenient to use them and give them a lot more utility. Also, their art ratios are terrible. They're supposed to be carried by their just really high innate stats, but the art ratios are still pretty terrible, except Uni. Uni's got good art ratios. At least for Lightning Arrow, I guess. I mean, the others are not the best. She also only has a few attacks, so I guess that's compensate. But in general, art ratios are not great. Tyon also has good ratios, but everyone else, ratios could be a lot better. So instead of just changing the art ratios themselves, give some value to completing the soul tree. When you fill out the soul tree and max it out, increase all art ratios on that Ouroboros by 25 to 50%. I feel like at least 25, maybe you could go up to 50% boost. That way, their damage is all just a little bit better. And then for skills, notice how the bottom half of the page is empty. Fill that with sharing all skills automatically once they are upgraded. Once a skill is upgraded on one Ouroboros, it is automatically shared to the other half of the Ouroboros pair with the unupgraded form of the skill. This would give so much more utility to all the Ouroboros because they wouldn't have to worry so much about their limited skill slots, and you could still use the skill slots to get the upgraded form of the skills, but by default they would have the unupgraded forms. This would fill in this weirdly empty half of the page, and also give even more incentive to upgrading skills as soon as possible so that you get the effects on both Ouroboros. And just in general, it would even out the Ouroboros pairs a lot because, for example, there's really no reason to ever use Mio's once you have Noah's skills unlocked, because he's just straight up better all the time, and he doesn't even need any of Mio's skills because her skills are kind of bad. I mean, her skills aren't bad, they're really not that useful. There's only one really good skill, which is this one. This one's useful, but it's not going to help with damage. Again, it's nice, it's just not going to help with damage. And this one is really mediocre damage. But if, let's say, she automatically had all of the weaker forms of Noah's skills, then she would actually be able to compete with damage. She can make use of her much faster arts and use her skill slots to maybe get some more stats from Noah instead. Though you're probably going to end up wanting the stronger forms of skills anyway. Actually, not sure why I had stats there instead of the skill linked in the first place. But yeah, so automatically linked all skills, just the unupgraded forms of them. That would be a really big boost to all the Ouroboros and even them out so that you don't have Mio's getting just so utterly outclassed by Noah's. That's it, I think, for the buffs for Ouroboros. All of these are just wide-ranging buffs instead of anything specific to each one, because it's kind of just the mechanic as a whole needs improvements to it rather than any specific Ouroboros having stuff that could be fixed on them. Like, Mio's skills work for her, it's just there's no reason to use her when you have Noah. But if you had all the Noah skills on Mioboros, then there would be plenty of reason to use her, because she has effectively better defenses with her increased agility. Actually, there is one more specific buff I'll give. Because Mioboros' agility is basically non-existent compared to the dexterity stat of post-game enemies. Give her at least another 100 points of agility. It's not even as high as what you can get on just Zephyr. Zephyr or Nipponic Champion or whatever, they can all get much higher agility than this. So just give her another base 100 agility at least. Maybe put it on her soul tree that she has more agility boosts. Like this one, all the agility boosts that she gets, wherever the other one is, just make those higher. So make this 50. Make this like 30. And I think there's one more. Make this 30. 30% up. So this way she would have a whole lot more agility and could actually effectively dodge in the postgame. But yeah, that's it then for all the Ouroboros buffs. That's the only one that needs anything specific, just because hers is stat-based. Everyone else, they got everything they need. All they really need is just the general change to skills, reaction arts, and movement more than anything else. If you want to see my buffs for classes of Xenoblade 3 classes, you can check out the playlist that's in the left-hand corner right now. And I'll have at least 2 more. I'm going to have class buff episodes on Zephyr and Royal Summoner after this. I might find some more to do after that, but those 2 are upcoming at least. If you watch the end, comment Blossom Dance down below, and see you next time!